Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 135 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to prepare for burner heat sources by trying to use up all of the byproducts in the factory first. Enjoy. So our power output is especially pathetic, and I was trying to figure out why, because I'm looking at these thinking, they don't have enough water in them. They're not running at full power. And then I saw this. It's interesting how there's no wires there. I guess because we removed them because they weren't necessary anymore. But you look here, it's pegged at 2 megawatts and it's not creating enough. And I forgot that when we used the mod, the offshore pumps mod, which added electricity cost to these and specifically made them much more costly than they normally were. So we actually don't have enough water power here to even run these at the pathetically low power that we can. Like, you look at that, that's like 1/6 of the output, so we need about 600 megawatts, it looks like. But there's some things we can do. At the very least, we want to be getting the full power output from the boilers that we do have. It seems kind of wasteful to do it any other way. And it's just interesting that it's nighttime, so we can't see the crazy fluctuations that are occurring on the network right now. And one thing we can research, I don't know how long it's going to take, but one thing we can research is the second tier of offshore pump that pumps twice as fast. So it is 2400 per second for about 2 megawatts. And this is 1200 for like 1.24. So it's a small improvement, not huge, but certainly we want to try to get as much out of it as possible. This might just be a sad night. Then we could put a second turbine down here, but I kind of don't want to bother. But there's actually something else we can research. Another mod that I've been trying out. But it's transformers. And if you've played Stationeers, you'll understand how they would work. But what they basically do is they separate your electrical networks, where you have one network connected to one side and then one network connected to the other. And not only are they separated, but it's like a one-way valve for electricity. So electricity can only go in, but it can never leave. So what we can do is get rid of this altogether, have a transformer in here, and then have a accumulator storing power for these pumps. So they will always receive the power they need before the rest of the factory. That way, as long as their accumulators have power, they will always get full power rather than being at half power like they are now. Another thing that transformers do is that they limit the power that can go through a wire to prevent certain things from sucking up too much power, like laser turrets or something like that. They can help avoid that, but we'll research that, the first tier, and then the second tier, which gives us 10 megawatts. Might as well. I didn't want to build a second turbine, but probably should, just to get what power output we can out of that. Because that is sad. That is very sad. Let's get a second one in there. You can just plop it wherever. And we'll actually need a burner inserter for this one. Was the last time we placed one of these. At least the network is supplied there now. So now these can run at full power. Not that it matters too much, because, I mean, that helps, but it's still really sad there. Unfortunately, I think the only true fix for this is rebuilding this bigger and better with lots of heat source burners. So let's get to that. Well, while we're waiting for that research to finish, it probably won't take too long, but satisfaction is very poor here. We can try to fix the things we can without actually building anything. I'm mentioning this because I'm noticing we are leaving some fuel on the table. Of course, clarifying away mineralized water is leaving fuel on the table. But also, this system isn't quite working right. I mean, it's working as designed, but it's dumping essentially mineralized water into these pellets, which are turning into wood fuel, which is being burned. That's fine, but now it's not creating any propane. And creating propene creates residual gas, which creates our fuel block, so we're not making any fuel blocks. So there's actually two separate conditions when we want this to run. And as the factory gets more complicated, you run into situations where it's not as simple as having one on condition, but you have to have several on conditions. So it's kind of janky and done backwards here, but these inserters are basically telling it to use the fiber and turn it into propene if this warehouse is full. But it might not necessarily be full if we're constantly burning wood. So wood is less desirable than making our fuel block, so we want to make it this way first. So we actually want two different conditions for these inserters to turn on. One is if propene is low, and the other condition is if cellulose fiber is high. So let's see here. We just need two deciders. It looks like let's see, make sure they're on their own network so I don't break anything. Seems like it. So let's do two deciders. I guess we can kind of plop them right here. So the first one is if propene is low. I don't know exactly how much propene we'd want. Let's just say if it's below 5,000. Which I think is what that is set at, which it is. This might actually be a good situation to upgrade that tank to the tier 2, since it's being used for logic. Anytime you have a tank being used for logic, it's a good idea to make it the biggest size you can get away with here. And also make sure to update these numbers, because now the tank is twice as big. So now this should be 40,000, and this should be 30,000. And it looks like the signal is being sent along this wire here and going up there, but we can use it and send it down here. So let's upgrade this to the bigger tank as well, 10,000. And output a green square. Similarly, cellulose fiber is above 10,000, output a green square. So we need to connect this. That comes in right there. Let's get this wire just right. Okay, we have our two inputs here. And then the outputs can go in there and be sent along the inserters. And then we'll set these where either of those conditions. So we only need to have at least one green square. So green square greater than 0. Turn on. Hopefully that's working properly now. It looks like it's starting to create propene again, because propene is low. Fiber is low too, but propene is probably more important than fiber and the wood products, because these are basically just being used as a natural source of various things in coal processing, so it's not critical that we make it. And because we have both of those logics set up now, we probably don't need this belt to have its own wire. It can just be running normally. Whatever is produced can find its way down. So we'll have to see how this works, but as you can see, right off the gate, we are making plastic, making fuel blocks, and hopefully that will help with our power problems. Of course, it's daytime now, but even so, it's daytime and the accumulators are still providing some power, so it's not great. Let's get rid of that flashing there. Well, we're still wasting mineralized water, which is not good. I mean, it's fine, but if we're low on power, we don't want to be wasting anything that can be turned into fuel. So we probably need to expand this. And how much to expand it, it's hard to say. Although, I'm noticing that a lot of this isn't running because it looks like it's low on carbon dioxide. I still think this setup isn't big enough for the factory, but at this moment, though, it's going slowly because of a lack of carbon dioxide. And let's see, that's because that one isn't running. And all this should be empty because we're consuming all of our wood for fuel, so basically none of this can run. So it has to fall back to coal processing. Ah, I see, this number is really tiny. So it's operating normally, but it looks like this tank was upgraded, plus these settings were quite small to begin with. So let's upgrade this to 10,000. That should make the fluid get down there. upgrade this to 20,000. There we go. So most of this should be running now. Yeah. Let's see what it looks like. Well, we got lots of green. It's still not quite getting all the way here. We have a tank here as a buffer, but maybe it's in the wrong spot. Let's grab another storage tank. And let's replace this one. Because it kind of needs to be before all of this to have a meaningful impact here. Or maybe somewhere in the middle. So let's put this tank right here in the middle like this. And the fluid should slosh in there. Slowly. But that should help stabilize the rest of these machines. Well, at the current moment, they are reducing mineralized water. So when everything is running, and I do mean everything, well, not quite everything, I guess, but when most of this is running, we are keeping up with mineralized water. And it looks actually fairly well balanced because we're using up most of these steam crackers as well. It feels like we just need one more of these setups, and it would be fine. We want to get every last little bit of fuel we can. Because I see just a little bit of inactivity here. Because I don't want to have to build and expand this whole setup too. Let's copy one of these here. At least as much as we can. I wonder if we can just throw it in here. It looks like we kind of can. I was not expecting to do that. But now I am glad that this space exists here. I don't know, should we though? Like, do we want to leave this open in case stuff wants to come through here, or do we just want to make it a giant bottleneck by sticking that in there? Probably don't want to do that. Like, on one hand I want to expand it, but it's going to have a lot of weird piping going on, and we're actually not that far away from being able to expand this a little more organically. Because if we get faster belts, we can put more on these belts here, and then stretch this up a few machines. Although it looks like they're not completely maxing the belt out as is. So I wonder if we put some near side inserters on here, if that would help a little bit. Because we are maxing the belt out pretty much completely with these machines. How's power doing now? Well, not great. Sun's going to go down in a few hours, and we haven't really charged much accumulator here. But having two inserters on the last machine here seems to help at maxing this out. And water is still very close to full. Let's make sure it's not just topping it off. Okay, good. That is operating correctly, at least. Numbers going back up. Is that because this stopped? Yeah. Although now it looks like it's dumping everything in the storehouse. It's probably trying to catch up, I guess. Probably because, yeah, propane gas got to the set point, so it turned off. Well, hopefully that'll catch up eventually. I mean, I'm sure it will. Then we'll have to see what things are like, but accumulators are still getting used, and it's the middle of the day. Otherwise, it looks like things are moving fairly smoothly. Yeah, the bus is still going nuts. Ironically, now the thing we are short on is iron ore. We have caught up with silicon, and now we don't have enough iron. Those are some thick belts of lots of resources, but it looks like it's still moving smoothly. And I see the flickering red light here, so we are consuming that nickel slowly. So I really hope at some point that we can use it all. We're not overloaded on it for a period of time. I did notice here that crushed stone is at 87k, and it should never really be above 80, so the alarm is about to go off on that. So we probably should go over there and see what's going on. Some of these machines aren't running. Looks like they are overloaded on mineral sludge, which is an odd thing to be loaded on, because that is the output. I see. I think it's a flow issue. So probably it would be really useful to have a pump, and we have a lot of kind of craziness going on here. I think the problem is that the output of sludge is down here, and the storage tank is up top. So for this to work properly, I think we need to send a second pipe going up. So let's actually unhook this here. And unhook the logic. Just let it run and drain that. And then we'll connect that. So that goes up like normal. Up there's the alarm going off. Then we'll have the logic that sends this down up here rather than down there where the sludge processing is. Well, for one, we can upgrade this tank to tier 2. And that's going to require changing some settings here. Doubling anything related to it. This will be the overflow tank. Let's do something like this. It'll be kind of zigzaggy, but it should work. Let's toss a pump in there. This is just kind of like a buffer tank for a buffer tank, but it's basically just because the piping here is kind of weird, so I think this is just the easier solution. It's kind of ugly though, but we make another pump here that we can then put there, and that's just a pressure pump, and all it does is move it down here. So the fluid's kind of going 2 different directions here, just because the exact positions of where these setups were placed. So now, when this gets down here, let's see, we could probably upgrade this tank as well. Of course, give it another pump. Pumps help flow. There we go. We got lots of flow right there. Now these systems are filling up. Funnily enough, we're full on silicon and silver, so now it's just the iron and copper that are getting filled up here, but because they're on the end, the fluid takes a while to get there. But let's see if this fixed it. And what's power look like? Not very good. While power is poor, it's going to be hard to see if this is helping. But it looks like it is. It's working through that mineral sludge. And let's see, how are we doing here? Well, we're building up. So that's not great. This is about to overfill. But I think that's in part because power may be low, but belts are still moving at full speed, so there's a lot of items that are still in the bus that these machines can't process because they don't have full power. So I think the setup is pretty good. So we're just going to have to come back and check it once we have a sufficient amount of power on the base. But I think there was one more setting here that needs to be changed. This one right here. Yes, that should be 10,000. Well, let's see. Well, it's so dark now. But yeah, we're producing that propane, making the fuel blocks that we can. And probably the most of what we're burning is, yeah, just wood bricks. We probably could build more of these and burn more faster, but why bother? Because we're just about to upgrade our setup here. And we could go straight into the big stuff and upgrade our main power generation, but that's going to require a lot of resources. So it might be better to do the smaller setups first and improve their efficiency. So like upgrading this setup right here that's burning hydrogen. And we finished all of our research. So we have all of our machines now. Require Invar and brass. But that's going to be a lot of crafting if we handcraft all of those things. So we probably need to put this on the bus here, even though these are resources that we don't have readily available on the bus yet. Specifically, looking at these heat burners use 160 copper each. Like, do we want to really be picking all that up? It's because heat pipes are so expensive. So, we need to put these on the bus, because otherwise I'm going to be here for an hour handcrafting things. Unfortunately, there's just not very many slots available for resources. And we did pretty good about using all of these slots. But I think we can use 2 of them. One of them is this barrel assembler, which we haven't been using barrels in forever. And then the space above that can be used as well. So we'll just unhook this. Okay, there's all the empty barrels for now. So we have 2 slots right here for resources. Let's just make them red because why not? We need to get brass here. And we need to get Invar here. Brass we can send on a drone here. Okay, it looks like the slag warning went off, so our changes seem to have helped. Well, there it is again, but I think when we get power and everything can run at normal speed, it will catch up. Okay, let's make a request depot here. Let's request some brass. And put like 20 drones in there. And then we'll take that upper spot. And just run it down however far it needs to go. Probably all the way to the end. Since that's where we're going to be building stuff. And we need to run another one. Uh-oh. Oh. Spiders caused some damage, but it looks like it was temporary. We got this running. Because I believe we were producing a ton of Invar. Yeah, right here. Pretty much an entire warehouse full. 77k. So I don't think we need to actually send that on a drone quite yet. I mean, maybe if this gets completely empty, then we will. But I don't think that'll happen. I mean, we need Invar, but I don't think we need that much of it just to build some new power generation setups. Whoops, I didn't use the right line here, but all this stuff is getting removed soon, so I don't care. I'll just have it zigzag. So now we just need to put some of this brass on the network, and we do have a road here already. So to get it, we're going to have to keep going out to right there. Ah! It's going to be a very long path for these drones to have to follow, but these are temporary setups here, so I don't mind if it's not as efficient as it could be. See, we need to do a supply depot, but we also need to pull some off here. Let's give priority to that pull off. And we want to do quite a few drones worth here. So if we have 20 drones, that's probably like... Let's just do 10,000. That's probably what the rest of them are running at here. So there's a nice buffer. It'll take a little while for those resources to get here. That's alright. Looks like Invar already made it. So what do we need to make? I don't know. After looking at this giant sequence of stuff, I'm second guessing whether or not I want to put all this on the bus, because the bus really can't handle it. Yeah. Well, the big thing is the steel bearings and heat pipes, and probably these brass gear wheels and brass pipes. So if we make those and everything else is already on the bus, that should limit the amount of handcrafting that we have to do. So we might have to expand that setup. Let's make it a little easier on ourselves and not go too nuts. So I'll have something right here. One making the gears, and then one making those brass pipes. And now, of course, we have to wait for the resources to get down here. Let's make sure the request was made. They were. So they'll get here eventually. Looks like the factory's calming down a little bit. It's nighttime and we actually have some accumulator charge, but looks like it's going to drain a little fast, but oh well. And then we wanted to do these heat pipes. And one machine is going to go through a great deal of resources here, so it's probably pretty good. Plop that in there. I see that we are getting full on crushed stone. No acid. No sulfur dioxide gas, because no oxygen. Okay. So there is oxygen in here, but the tank is low, and there's a pump there, so it's sucking it all out, putting it into the tank, and it can't actually flow back to make acid. I know we kind of put it there. Presumably it's there for a reason. So, we might have to do a second pipe here. like we did with the mineral sludge. So let's do kind of something like this. Oh, it's at an angle. Well, let's do this. We'll get rid of that non-return valve because it doesn't seem to be working. And let's play it extra safe and get a pump in here. There we go. I noticed a lot of this seems like it's falling behind. It seems like it's because of mineralized water. It's full down here, but is it full out here? It actually is. That's a downside to having this so far away. And having the tank be perpetually full all the time. Is that things get clogged up. Okay. Well, I think despite the fact I really don't want to build some more of those setups off to the side, probably like right in here, I think we have to. It's not quite maxing everything out down here. It's most of it, but not all of it, so we could probably build... Actually, even just one of them would probably be enough. Another thing we could do is put it right here. Now that there's an empty space, we can kind of slot it in here, and then the pipes wouldn't have to travel very far to get to where they need to go. We might want to do that instead. Let's hook up these burner manufacturing machines just to get it all started. And looks like brass did get here, and it's going now. Excellent. We're making heat pipes. Seems like it's going quite fast, but resources are going to run out quickly. Okay. Let's build another one of these lines here, which looks like we would need basically 6 algae farms and all the associated pipes and whatnot. Since I don't really want to be dumping mineralized water, I don't want to put a set of clarifiers all the way out there. We might have to, next to the electrolyzers, just to allow them to run smoothly, but I'd rather not. I want to try to get every last little bit of value we can out of mineralized water. So, kind of grab this. And let's see. I don't want to put this right on the road, but looks like there's some pipes down there. And if we place this right in here, it won't be in the way. But one problem is I drive through here on this road a lot. And I don't like to drive through there, so I take the shortcut and go this way. Unfortunately, by placing this here, that does get in the way. And it's a little annoying. It would be less annoying if it was out here. So it's not as good for logistics, but it's easier for me to drive. So we'll plop that in there. It should basically fit. And we'll adjust what we need to here. I do see this pipe is kind of in the way. We'll have to fix that. Although, actually, it's kind of super dumb, but the pipe actually fits just fine. It's not in the way of anything. Well, power shut off. Let's see, we made it today, and there was still some accumulator left, so it looks like things are catching up, because it's like when all of the engines are running, we're actually creating enough power. Like, I think we were around 600 megawatts or something like that when the whole factory was going, but it looks like all that's accumulators. But we do have the capacity of making a lot of power if we efficiently use all of our byproducts. And certainly if we upgrade to burner heat sources, that will certainly help too. Let's get this set up. We don't need any of these wires, because it should just run all the time, essentially. Then we'll need to connect it, and we need to find an empty slot here. It might be easier to come back from this other direction, but it looks like this slot right here is available. Oh, it does kind of fight with that water a little bit, though. So I guess we have to move it after all. Propane is connected. It's got carbon dioxide. Now it needs to be connected to the correct pipe. This is the pipe that is powered all the time. We don't want that one. We want this one right here, which is connected to this pump and is using pump logic. So we need to continue it. And there we go. We've got one here running. We'll have to see if this is enough or if we need a second one. Oh, there's a missing slot right there. Whoops. Let's see, that's all running. We still have an empty steam cracker here. It's running some of the time, but not all the time. And we still have some mineralized water that's occasionally getting clarified. So that means we need to build another one. And looks like power is finally catching up. Probably want to set this to be even lower than 30,000. Let's make it 20,000. Just to try to keep that tank empty. So there's more room for the machines that are really far away to drop off their resources. So we've got another machine here to build. More water pipe that's in the way. Probably should just move it all the way out there. Well, that's running mostly smoothly. Let's see how we're doing with our production. Got it maxed out. Of course, we could put more machines down, but I want to minimize the amount of work we're doing here, and look at all those drones coming by. It's not getting rid of any mineralized water now. It looks like our farms are almost at full power, which is the best we can expect, really, but all of that is being turned into fuel oil, which is being turned into fuel blocks. Come on, I want to see this go to 39 so I know it's going down. Well, we actually have another way of getting rid of this methanol gas. We could just burn it. I mean, ideally we'd burn the propane because it has so much more energy, but we can burn the methanol too, if it gets overloaded. So we'll have to see. Come on, go to 39. Show me it's working. Okay. I went from 201 to 200 on the system contents. So it is going down. It has power. Okay. Accumulator's caught up, but it looks like the power requirements of the factory died down since we probably caught up on that huge LTN burst from setting up those new requesting stations. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we are going to get to building all of those burner heat sources and upgrading our power generation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.